The classroom is nearly empty. Shimizu-san remains at her desk, her face buried in her arms. Daiki stands nearby and tells her it's time to go home, but she doesn't respond. Unsure whether to wake her, he hesitates. Shunya approaches, wondering how Daiki can sit so close to her so casually. Not understanding the concern, he just shrugs, but Shunya insists that most people would keep their distance, even calling her a delinquent. Daiki raises an eyebrow, unconvinced, yet Shunya maintains it's obvious. Both recall the earlier incident when the teacher once again tells Shimizu to dye her hair black. She refuses and even jokes about trying a different color, unsettling the teacher with her intense stare. Back in the classroom, Daiki suggests she is probably just asleep. Shunya argues that her presence remains intimidating and reminds him that he was the only one who didn't step back earlier. Daiki wonders why Shunya was hiding and only appears now. With a grin, he claims he's glad the topic comes up, then admits he likes Seto-san. Surprised, Daiki replies he doesn't really know her. Shunya turns the question around, curious if there's anyone Daiki likes, but the answer is no. He calls him boring. Daiki reflects that romance and ambition never really excite him. He never feels passionate about anything, and life seems ordinary. In contrast, Shunya throws himself wholeheartedly into everything, making it feel as if they live in different worlds. Shunya wonders if there's any type of girl Daiki finds attractive. When he doesn't answer right away, the question is clarified. He means in terms of appearance. Daiki admits he prefers someone who looks clean and elegant. Pressed for more specifics, he suggests maybe someone who actually wears the school uniform properly. When pushed further, he adds that black hair would be nice. Long or short? Long. Shunya then wants to know about accessories. Daiki confesses he likes girls who don't try too hard to stand out. He gets teased for being so plain and is told things are getting interesting. Before Shunya can continue, someone calls him to club activities and he dashes off, leaving Daiki alone. Shimizu hasn't moved. The next day, Daiki arrives to find the seat beside him empty. He wonders if she is just running late. Soon, whispers circulate as classmates comment that she is blunt or intimidating. Following their glances, Daiki freezes. Shimizu has dyed her hair black. He remembers mentioning to Shunya the day before that he likes black hair. Seeing her now, he thinks it suits her perfectly. Almost unfairly so, but assumes it's just a coincidence. She approaches and stands silently in front of him. When he checks if something is wrong, she gazes at him blankly. Around them, classmates whisper that she must be angry with Hondo and that he's in trouble. Feeling nervous, he mumbles an apology. She remains silent. Art class begins. Shimizu sits at her desk, slightly turned away from him. Daiki wonders if he's done something wrong. He thinks he's behaved normally, but maybe not. The teacher asks everyone to pair up and decide who will draw first. Daiki checks if she wants to start or let him go first. She replies that it doesn't matter. He volunteers to begin, and she nods. Then she wonders if something has caught his attention. The teacher encourages everyone to relax. Shimizu crosses her legs. Daiki checks if she's comfortable sitting that way. She replies that it's easier, unless he'd prefer her to sit with her hands on her knees. He tells her to do whatever feels best. With a small nod, she agrees, and the teacher signals them to begin. She sits quietly, her expression unreadable. Daiki starts sketching but quickly loses focus. When he pauses, she wonders why. After he apologizes, she casually tucks a strand of black hair behind her ear. Daiki mentions he'll move on to drawing her face and asks her to hold still, which unsettles her. She looks uncertain. He offers to stop if she feels uncomfortable, and she seems unsure how to respond. Assuming she's upset, Daiki waits as she turns away, asking for more time. She's not ready yet. He agrees to draw something else for now. As he looks down, his gaze drifts lower. Shimizu snaps, wanting to know where he's looking. He admits just below her face. She accuses him of staring, which he quickly denies. She makes him repeat himself, and he does. Finally, her features soften and she seems less tense. Daiki admits he wasn't entirely honest earlier. Shimizu confesses she might have had some negative thoughts as well and apologizes, admitting she was just nervous. She decides to forgive him, but only if he draws her properly this time. Daiki promises. The teacher mentions there are only 3 minutes left. He realizes he's almost finished. Shimizu notes it's her turn to draw him, and he agrees. She tells him to relax, though she still seems tense. Wondering if she looks nervous, she tries to adjust when Daiki tells her that her face seems a bit stiff, but nothing seems to help. He tries to lighten the mood by complimenting her black hair. She blushes and wants to know why he would say that so suddenly, thinking he hadn't noticed. He checks if that's why she dyed it. She dodges the question and tells him to keep working. He laughs quietly. When she wonders what's so funny, he admits her expression is amusing and that he's actually enjoying this. She blushes again, brushing her fingers through her hair. Then she wants to know if he says things like this to every girl. Daiki assures her he doesn't. This is the first time. Giving him a look, she tells him to concentrate. With time almost up, Daiki can tell she's more at ease now. He thanks her for being his model. When they finish, he tells her she can rest, but she brushes it off and wants to see his drawing. When he hands it over, she remarks that if any drawing could save her life, it would be that one. Pointing out the fine lines on her face in the sketch, she wonders about them. Daiki replies he simply draws what he sees and checks if it looks bad. She blushes. The teacher instructs them to switch. Daiki checks if she wants him to pose a certain way, but she leaves it up to him. When he sits down, she hides behind her sketchbook, telling him not to stare so much. He wonders which way to look. She says at her, then changes her mind. She looks just as confused as he feels. Later, on the way home, Shimizu absent-mindedly touches her hair. Daiki's words echo in her mind. That black hair truly does suit her. The day she dyes it quietly marks the beginning of something new. It's lunchtime, and Shunya, with intense curiosity, wants to know why Daiki always buys sandwiches from the cafeteria. Daiki explains that every morning when he wakes up, he's always tired, so there's no way he can make sandwiches for himself for lunch. Shunya, continuing the conversation that many high school boys dream about, wonders aloud if he would accept a sandwich for lunch if it were made by the girl he likes. The thought alone brings a look of happiness to Daiki's face, and he admits that having lunch under those circumstances would make him excited to eat every now and then. When the conversation turns to food preferences, he mentions that an omelet with pork would be a nice meal to have. The discussion soon shifts to attending a cooking class the next day, and the possibility of tasting food from another group, both of them unaware that Shimizu is within earshot, overhearing every word. Daiki reflects on how pleasant it would be to cook with someone, since he always ends up cooking his own meals, and his sister never helps with the chores. Shunya becomes animated at the idea of cooking with someone he likes, but Daiki confides that he would prefer to cook with his crush, finding the idea even more appealing. All the while, Shimizu, feeling increasingly nervous, keeps tapping on her phone, trying to distract herself from the conversation but unable to keep from listening. The topic returns to cooking class partners, with Daiki mentioning that for now, his group consists only of Shimizu. This revelation prompts Shunya to quietly note that he has never actually seen her in the cooking class before. But after this aside, both boys share their hopes and wishes for the activities planned for tomorrow. On the day of the class, the teacher announces that the group will be making sautéed vegetables, as was already decided. However, a surprise awaits everyone when it is revealed that there is a new participant. The entire class is shocked to see Shimizu joining the session, but Daiki, instead of being surprised, greets her with enthusiasm and wishes her good luck, encouraging her to work hard since they're now in the same group. She appears nervous, but the teacher instructs everyone to begin cooking. The initial task of cutting vegetables comes up, and Daiki volunteers to handle it, acknowledging that while it's tough, he can get the job done. Shimizu announces her willingness to help him with the vegetable cutting. Shunya, though admittedly a bit intimidated by her, offers to help as well. Daiki insists that he can manage, but she reasons the work will go much faster if he accepts help, so he agrees. Even though she still seems nervous, Shimizu assures him that he can rely on her and suggests leaving the chopping to her. Still feeling uneasy about assigning the entire task, he proposes that they take turns and work in shifts. A large cabbage is handed to Shimizu with a request to cut it to a suitable size, while Daiki turns his attention to preparing the carrots. Suddenly, she smashes the cabbage onto the cutting board and grips the knife in an unsettling manner, reminiscent of a serial killer. The sight makes him uneasy, prompting him to nervously ask her to lower the knife. Shimizu, confused, points out that he had asked her to cut the cabbage. He then demonstrates the proper way to hold the knife, and she, still quite anxious, admits her nerves are affecting her. Daiki acknowledges that cooking in front of an audience can be intimidating, but reminds her that she can ask for help whenever she needs it. Nevertheless, Shimizu resumes with the same awkward technique, holding the knife high with an almost menacing intent, prompting a more urgent correction from Daiki. She explains she was thinking of cutting the cabbage into small strips, but he reminds her that for sauté vegetables the pieces shouldn't be too tiny, otherwise the cabbage will be grated instead of sautéed. Following his instructions, she manages to cut the cabbage correctly, and he expresses his appreciation for her effort and improvement. The next vegetable is the onion. Shimizu gets ready to chop, but Daiki advises her to hold her hand like a cat's paw for safety. Instead, she lifts both hands, unintentionally making it look as though she is preparing for a confrontation. He gently intervenes, explains the technique, and demonstrates by guiding her hand. The experience leaves her flustered, while Daiki wonders if she dislikes being touched. Despite the awkwardness, he helps her with the chopping process, which draws the attention of the rest of the class until her sharp glare encourages everyone to return to their own tasks. A sense of guilt settles over Shimizu for causing a scene, but Daiki remains calm and supportive, making sure to teach her patiently. With his assistance, she manages to chop the onion and, with a hint of pride, announces that she has learned the cat's paw technique. She remains unaware that Daiki secretly thinks she looks as cute as a kitten. Together, they move on to finish cooking the sautéed vegetables. After tasting her dish, Shimizu is pleasantly surprised and happy that it turns out well, and Daiki agrees that the dish is flavorful. Later, curiosity nudges her to know what he thought about cooking together. Daiki admits he was initially worried she might injure him, which makes her a little sad, but he quickly adds that he actually enjoyed cooking with her. Looking at him in awe, Shimizu shyly suggests that they can cook together more often, and this response brings happiness to Daiki, who had initially feared she would reject the idea. In the end, he realizes that one of his many wishes has now come true. Later that day, back at home, Shimizu tries to relax by taking a bath, but her mind just keeps racing. Thoughts about Daiki's strong hands and the way he praises her skills occupy her mind. The shyness she feels is overwhelming at first, but then logic tries to take over, reminding her that he could have admired anyone with cooking skills, not just her. She tries to stop herself from spiraling into negative thoughts and attempts to focus on something else when suddenly she remembers his words about how homemade lunches are the best. Without warning, her sister bursts cheerfully into the washroom, wrapped only in a towel, startling her. The sister, completely unbothered by the interruption, wonders if she can help wash Shimizu's back. Shimizu tries to get her to wait until she's finished, but her sister is persistent, insisting that now is the perfect opportunity to talk about romance. Eventually, Shimizu feels defeated by her sister's persistence and ends up telling her the whole story. Not long after, both sisters find themselves in the kitchen, wearing aprons where the older one instructs her to make fried pork with ginger as a test of her cooking skills. However, Shimizu manages to ruin the entire dish, resulting in nothing but burnt pieces. She readily admits to the failure, but her sister still hasn't lost hope. The very next day, they're in the kitchen again, her sister encouraging her to keep trying and work hard. Shimizu, however, starts chopping the pork with the same intense, almost overzealous energy, and ends up cutting it into tiny, uneven pieces. Still, the sister's optimism doesn't fade, and she encourages her to start over since there's still some pork left. This time, her sister provides clear instructions on how to chop more evenly and fry the pork on a low flame. Despite the support, the result is another failure. The pork ends up looking like unappetizing slime. Shimizu tastes her effort, but her grim expression reveals how bad it turned out. The sister, seeing her disappointment, suggests finding another way to thank Daiki and leaving the lunch idea for another day. But she is determined to learn how to prepare lunch, driven by a desire to see his satisfied expression. However, she hasn't revealed the whole truth to her sister. The sister only knows Shimizu wants to thank Daiki, so she tells her she wants to do it right away, but her inability to cook makes her anxious. In a show of encouragement, the sister removes her apron and reveals that underneath she's wearing a cheerleader uniform, ready to cheer her up and lift her spirits. With renewed motivation, the two of them work hard in the kitchen for an entire week. However, as the days go by and every attempt at cooking pork ends up in awful shape, her sister's cheerful face gradually fades, and Shimizu becomes more and more discouraged. Despite all the failures, she decides to pack the food anyway because she doesn't want to waste it. The sister then hands her a lunchbox prepared by their mother, reminding her that the kitchen is all about love, and that putting love into food is what matters the most. Later, in the classroom, Shimizu sits sadly with her lunchbox in hand, thinking about all the recent commotion in the kitchen. Daiki notices her downcast expression and mentions that he left his wallet at home and missed lunch. He adds that Shunya is busy with a meeting and couldn't help, and apologizes for making her worry. Glancing at the two lunchboxes on her desk, Shimizu decides to offer one to him. When he wonders about the extra lunch, she tells him that the bento is for him, and her own portion is on her desk. Daiki looks genuinely glad, but still wonders about the two boxes, so she explains that her parents prepared two, and since she can't eat both, She wants to thank him for helping her in the cooking class by giving him one. Shimizu feels safe believing that he will eat the lunch her mother made, but panic sets in as she realizes he has already opened the one she prepared, the one with burnt pork. She tries to think of a way to get it back, but it's too late as he has already started eating. Anxiety fills her as she watches, but Daiki doesn't seem to notice the burnt pork and simply eats it as if it's a normal meal. She feels more anxious when he asks her to look away, saying he can't eat while being watched. She can't help but worry and checks if he's all right, making sure he doesn't feel pressured to eat it. Daiki, in turn, wonders about the seasoning in the pork, which she doesn't usually add, and she realizes he's noticed exactly what she cooked. Ignoring her anxious look, Daiki calmly mentions that he likes roasted ginger pork and that the taste makes him emotional whenever he eats it. She insists that he should stop if it's bad. But Daiki responds with emotion, saying that because she went out of her way to prepare it for him, he will eat it no matter what. Shimizu is shocked to hear that he knows she cooked it especially for him, especially since she only asked for his thoughts on the lunch and whether it was bad. Daiki further wonders if it's really okay for him to eat the lunch she made just for him. Embarrassment washes over her, realizing how closely he pays attention to every detail. She desperately wants to tell him that she cooked it for him to enjoy, but is too embarrassed to admit it, so she tries to hide it by insisting she just couldn't eat 2 portions and gave him one. He is observant and points out that she has seemed down for several days, but now he understands it was because of the lunch. Knowing how hard she worked and how much she has improved since cooking class, he comments on every bite he takes, which only makes her more embarrassed, leading her to ask him to eat quietly. When he finishes, she asks for the empty lunchbox, wanting to help out like in their cooking lesson. Daiki returns the box formally, expressing gratitude and promising to compensate her, without realizing how extremely happy this makes her. That night, she lies awake replaying the grateful look Daiki gave her as he ate the bento. Overwhelmed with happiness, Shimizu finds herself unable to sleep, already planning to make another bento lunch just for him. Shimizu is in full cooking mode, apron tied, a cookbook in one hand and a ladle in the other, focused on improving her skills both in presentation and in taste. The mere thought of Daiki's satisfied expression is enough motivation, fueling her desire to create a bento he will never forget. A lunch so memorable that he'll ask for her cooking every day. Just as her determination builds, her older sister Kai suddenly appears and demands to know the whole story about how she thanked the guy. Shimizu tries to avoid the conversation, but Kai's insistence, along with a dangerous look, makes it impossible to refuse. After all, she helps in the kitchen and even tastes all those failed meals, so she declares that Shimizu owes her the full story about Daiki Hanadu and anything romantic. Admitting defeat, she starts describing him and how kind and unique he has seemed ever since they met. She remembers when Shunya wants Daiki to take over his cleaning duty, and he does it without hesitation. That memory leads her to think he's the type who can't say no to anything. At first, she wonders if that means he's weak rather than kind, since he's always helping everyone around him. But then there's the day when a random boy confesses his feelings to her. She refuses him simply because she doesn't even know his name. But the boy becomes angry, accusing her of only having a pretty face and showing attitude instead of being grateful for his feelings. When he reaches out to grab her arm, Daiki suddenly appears, stepping between them like a shield, and calmly introduces himself. The situation escalates as the boy, now even angrier, demands to know Daiki's relationship with her. He answers that she is someone he's just met, which only fuels the boy's frustration, as he argues that Daiki shouldn't interfere in his confession since there's no relationship. Despite this, Daiki stands his ground, explaining that he wouldn't have intervened if the boy hadn't grabbed her arm so tightly. She wants to stop him from getting involved, but he keeps reasoning with the boy, patiently pointing out that such actions only make him look bad. Eventually, the boy realizes his mistake, apologizes, and leaves. Afterwards, she wonders if Daiki steps in because he wants to date her after helping with that situation. But to her surprise, all he does is say, "Good boy," to himself and quietly walk away. The encounter leaves her with questions she can't shake. Unable to hide her curiosity, she asks why he's there at that moment, genuinely wondering if there really are people willing to rush into dangerous situations without hesitation. Daiki, embarrassed, explains that he sees her heading toward the back of the school with the boy, and, knowing about the boy's short temper, decides to follow for her safety. Hearing this, Shimizu is struck by how genuinely good he seems. He helps her with no prior connection or expectation of anything in return. Yet he admits that his reason for intervening is actually selfish. If he hadn't followed and something had happened, he would have hated himself for not helping. She tries to assure him that it's simply a sign of being a good person, but Daiki grows somber, explaining that he doesn't want to feel guilt, and for him, regret is even more painful than most things. His words and expression make her wonder if he has experienced deep regret before. She warns him that stepping into situations like that could have consequences, but deep down she knows he won't stop, even if he says he will. From that day on, she finds herself always watching him, fascinated by how unique he is. Listening to all this, Kai points out that Shimizu still hasn't truly thanked him. She recalls that after dyeing her hair, he acts as if he's meeting her for the first time, and now she isn't even sure if he would remember her if she tried to thank him. Kai teases her, suggesting that she likes Daiki because of how unique he is. Realizing her feelings have been exposed, Shimizu is left embarrassed, but Kai urges her to find a special way to say thank you, perhaps by inviting him on a date. The suggestion alone is so overwhelming that she looks as if she might pass out at the mere mention of the word date. Back in middle school, Shimizu is very popular, drawing confessions from boys on a regular basis. To escape this attention, she dyes her hair blonde and begins acting like a delinquent. When Daiki later encounters her and greets her as if it's their first meeting, she can't help but wonder if he truly has forgotten her. One day, while she's walking through the corridor, she overhears someone questioning whether Daiki is afraid of her because of her delinquent reputation and her hair, which clearly violates school rules. He is about to respond when her sister suddenly pulls her out of her thoughts. They are both out on a shopping spree for new clothes. Kai, always quick to tease, comments on how Shimizu's blushing face must mean she's thinking about Daiki, making her feel even more embarrassed. Trying to brush off the suggestion, she insists he isn't someone who judges based on appearances, yet she admits to herself that she still wants to look good for him. Meanwhile, Daiki's own sister, Kino, asks him to go to the shopping mall to pick up a game she has reserved. He suggests she go herself, but knowing his sister's dislike for going out, he agrees to go in her place. Grateful, she thanks him, and he realizes he can never turn down a request from her. After picking up the game and receiving a reward for it, Daiki starts heading home when he catches a glimpse of black hair in the crowd and calls out to Shimizu. She is completely shocked to see him at the mall. Her sister greets Daiki first. He recognizes her as Shimizu's sister, but Kai corrects him, introducing herself as the vice president of the student council, the super one. He looks surprised but still doesn't seem to remember her from before. When asked, Daiki explains that he is at the mall to pick up a game for his sister. Kai, always quick to form a plan, wonders if he has any other plans that day, and if not, invites him to join them. Without noticing Shimizu's anxious reaction, Kai arranges for all three to have lunch together. Unable to refuse, he joins them and soon finds himself answering a barrage of questions about his sister, as Kai keeps steering the conversation. At one point, Kai bluntly brings up who he thinks is prettier, his own sister or Shimizu. Without hesitation, Daiki responds that while Shimizu isn't just pretty, she is far more beautiful. The compliment leaves her so shy and embarrassed that she quickly excuses herself to get a drink, but even from a distance, she keeps listening in on the conversation. Kai, undeterred by her absence, confides to Daiki that Shimizu often talks about him at home. Curious, he wonders what she could possibly say about him. While Shimizu lingers by the drink counter, hoping her sister will join her soon, Kai continues speaking about her. She mentions how Shimizu has become even more beautiful recently, especially after overcoming a difficult period that left her isolated from others. Kai then wants to know what Daiki thinks about Shimizu. The question catches him off guard, but as she debates whether to return to the table to avoid suspicion, he shares his honest thoughts. He describes her as a kind person, noting that they share a class, sit together, talk often, and that she always listens carefully and responds thoughtfully, showing integrity and genuine kindness. Kai nods in satisfaction at his answer, but still teases that Shimizu lacks integrity since she dyed her hair blonde, even though it was against the rules. Daiki disagrees, saying she must have had her reasons for making that choice. Kai then asks for a favor, pointing out how closely he pays attention to Shimizu. She requests that he stay by her sister's side since, after Shimizu dyed her hair black again, she has started attracting more attention. Kai admits feeling comfortable with him around her. He, however, gently refuses the favor, saying he would always stay close to Shimizu for his own sake. He genuinely enjoys talking with her, and she makes him happy. When Shimizu finally returns to the table with drinks, she checks what they have been discussing. Kai responds that they are talking about where to go next since their real date has just begun. Leaning in, she whispers to Shimizu that Daiki likes talking to her. She blushes at the news but also feels a surge of happiness. Realization dawns that her sister has spoken directly to Daiki about her, and frustration bubbles up, but Kai has no regrets. With that, she continues to drag both Shimizu and Daiki along, determined to make the most of their unexpected date. During their outing, the three of them find themselves shopping for clothes, as Ai insists she needs Daiki's opinion on her choices and wants a guy's perspective. While she wanders off to look for outfits, Shimizu takes the chance to apologize to Daiki for dragging him along. Instead of minding, he brings up a question about why she avoids wearing skirts. Shimizu explains that it's not that she dislikes skirts, she wears them as part of her uniform, but she simply prefers to dress in a way that feels more comfortable. At that moment, Ai reappears, holding out a skirt dress and encouraging her to try it on. Uninterested, Shimizu declines, so her sister decides to try it on herself. Left alone again, Daiki suggests that changing up her style at her own pace could be a good thing, as sometimes a new look can bring positive change. Suddenly, Ai steps out in a long summer skirt dress, looking adorable, and he compliments her without hesitation. The praise sparks a twinge of jealousy in Shimizu, who insists she doesn't like the dress, but her sister teases her about Daiki's compliment and declares she'll buy the dress for herself. Without skipping a beat, Ai begins grilling him about what kind of dresses he likes. Daiki admits that he's fond of girly styles, which Ai enjoys experimenting with. Feeling left out, Shimizu quickly retreats to the changing room. Noticing this, Ai tells Daiki to follow if he wants to see something special, hinting at her hidden qualities. He agrees that she could look good in any style, but after 10 minutes pass with no sign of her, Ai wonders if Shimizu is trying on something daring and teases that she must be embarrassed to come out. Daiki offers reassurance, telling her that she can take her time and doesn't need to feel pressured to emerge. Despite his patience, Ai can't resist pulling back the curtain, revealing Shimizu in a stunning outfit that leaves him utterly speechless. Nervous, Shimizu quietly asks for his opinion, uncertain of his reaction. For a moment, he is at a loss for words, prompting her to worry the dress doesn't suit her. Suddenly, he apologizes for his silence, explaining that he's simply caught off guard by how beautiful she looks in the outfit. The heartfelt compliment makes her eyes shine with happiness. Daiki, unaware of her nerves, continues to praise both her usual style and how cute and lovely she looks now. Overwhelmed and embarrassed by her sister's teasing, Shimizu hurries back to change into her regular clothes. In the end, she decides to buy the dress, which leaves Daiki lost in thought, wondering when he might get to see her wear it again. Sensing his distraction, she calls out and asks what is on his mind. He casually repeats that the dress really suits her, causing her to blush even more. Meanwhile, Ai signals to Daiki that Shimizu has bought the dress just for him to see, but she, unwilling to reveal her true feelings, insists her purchase is simply for a change of pace. The sisters begin bickering playfully as Shimizu struggles to express what is in her heart. He, still thinking about how unsettled he feels seeing her in such a cute dress, begins to feel a sense of calm as the shopping trip winds down. Ai then asks where they should go next, declaring that shopping is done and she wants Daiki to join them at the arcade. Shimizu worries he might turn down the invitation, but he happily agrees to play a few games before heading home. Perhaps for all of them, this could be the start of a new chapter. The first game Shimizu and Daiki play is the crane machine. She tries to win a bear because it resembles him, but despite her efforts, she cannot get it. Her sister then arrives, calling them to join other games. Shimizu leaves the crane machine and the teddy bear behind, mentioning she can play it any time, though in reality she is unable to win the bear. After leaving the crane, all three play slingshot, with Shimizu and Daiki on one team and her sister on the other. The games progress smoothly, with Shimizu initially taking the lead. Her sister, however, employs a strategy and suddenly points at something in the sky. Shimizu, familiar with her tricks, remains unfazed and confidently declares her intention to win. Still, her sister maintains determined eye contact, suggesting she has a plan. She consistently aims for the center of the board. Shimizu cannot discern her sister's intentions and grows frustrated with the accuracy. And at one point, she accidentally bumps into Daiki, leaving her embarrassed. When he wonders about it, her embarrassment prevents her from responding. Meanwhile, her sister announces the prize, highlighting her skill. The winner gets to command the loser for the day. Shimizu is unfamiliar with this rule, but notes their team has won one of two games, giving them a possible advantage. She tries to keep pace, but her sister senses her lack of confidence and continues to push, while Daiki assures them he is happy as long as everyone is enjoying themselves. Since Shimizu has a partner, the competition intensifies and the mood becomes more serious. Suddenly, Ai scores a decisive goal, leaving Shimizu stunned by her loss, while her sister celebrates her right to give orders. Shimizu regrets losing, especially since Daiki must also follow the winner's commands. She volunteers to take responsibility for both of them, since she dragged him into the game, but he objects, though both sisters agree to the arrangement. Ai leads them to Purikura photo booths, revealing that Shimizu must cosplay, and they proceed to take pictures. Shimizu feels anxious upon learning she cannot even select her costume, and both sisters leave Daiki behind to enter the changing room. Ai selects a maid outfit for her, who takes extra time to mentally prepare before changing, believing the outfit is too revealing and fearing Daiki might be disgusted. She hopes everything will go smoothly, eventually emerging in the outfit. Her sister compliments her appearance, but Shimizu is too nervous to gauge his reaction. When he remarks that the outfit suits her, she is pleasantly surprised to see he is not put off. They proceed to take photos together. After taking pictures with her sister, Ai appears cheerful and invites Daiki to join. When all three enter for a group photo, Ai briefly steps out and encourages Shimizu and Daiki to take pictures alone, another clever tactic that leaves the two together. Initially, they stand apart from the frame, but Daiki suggests they move closer, and slowly, they end up standing side by side. Ai returns, teasing that Shimizu has become bold. She then offers to decorate the photos, but Shimizu declines, and Daiki admits he isn't skilled at it, so Ai takes charge. During this, Daiki tells her he wants to give her something, and produces the bear from the crane machine. Shimizu is awestruck when he explains that he won it for her, and would be happy if she accepted it. She hesitantly takes the bear, and when he checks if she likes teddy bears, she cannot admit it's because it resembles him. So she changes the subject and goes to check on her sister. Viewing the photos with Daiki, she realizes things may not be as they appear. Although her sister orchestrates much of the day, it ultimately becomes a collection of cherished memories for Shimizu. Daiki and Shimizu are both sitting on the bus, heading home. Neither of them realizes until now that they live so close to each other. Her sister has run off to handle some errands, instructing them to go home together. Shimizu feels the need to explain that her sister is the pushy type who always drags her around, but Daiki believes her sister is actually a good sibling. Shimizu, on the other hand, finds her bossy, always ordering her about, while Daiki sees it differently, appreciating how freely her sister can speak with him. When Shimizu mentions that he should see her sister at home, especially when she complains about not understanding anything before exams, Daiki assumes her sibling must be hardworking. Then she realizes she has started bad-mouthing her own sister, but his admiration for her sibling makes her feel a twinge of jealousy. He then points out that Shimizu herself has many admirable qualities, such as always taking the initiative to help others, like she does in cooking class, and even making lunch for him. His list of her good qualities starts to make her nervous, so she asks him to stop, just as the train announces their stop. When they exit, they find it's raining. Daiki asks about her umbrella and offers to share his, since she has forgotten to bring one. She declines, saying she can call her parents, and reassures him he doesn't need to worry. With that, he heads home, but Shimizu remains standing there in despair, having lied about her parents, who won't be home until the evening, and her sister is already gone. She regrets not bringing her own umbrella, but at least she got to spend time with him today. Clutching the teddy bear that resembles Daiki, she finds comfort in its presence during this moment of loneliness. She recalls the expression on his face when she wore that dress, and it's for that reason she buys both the dress and the plush bear he gives her. As she gazes at the teddy bear, she suddenly hears her name called in his voice. At first she thinks she's imagining things, but then sees him standing there with his umbrella open. When she wonders why he returns, Daiki explains he suspects she hasn't left yet, so he comes back to share his umbrella and walk home together. Embarrassed and shy to share what feels like a lover's umbrella, she listens as he apologizes for not buying another umbrella since the convenience store was sold out, and she thanks him for not spending extra money on her. She struggles to keep the conversation going, worried he might catch a cold from the rain, and tells him to move closer under the umbrella. He replies that she really is kind, but Shimizu thinks he is even kinder for walking all the way back just in case she is still there. Daiki says he does it to avoid future regret. This reminds Shimizu of something he has said before, so she wonders if he has any regrets from the past. He shares that he once had a friend named Yu with whom he played in the park every day. One day, a group of older boys teased them, and Daiki looked to you for support. But you stayed silent, so Daiki did too. The next day, you never came back to the park, and from that moment, Daiki resolved not to have regrets. If he could go back, he would have asked you how he felt, since you was a precious friend and he felt helpless at the time. Shimizu apologizes, realizing she may have brought up a painful memory, but Daiki reassures her that he's fine now, cherishing the good memories with you and feeling happy in the present, especially with Shimizu taking an interest in him. She becomes so flustered by his words that she nearly stumbles into the rain, prompting Daiki to stop her from moving so much under the umbrella. She insists it's only because he says something strange, but he disagrees, saying it isn't strange. She never asks much about him, so he's happy to open up because he's enjoying their time together. His words replay in her mind, making her increasingly nervous as she thinks about him, realizing how handsome he is and wishing she could be more feminine. He then wonders if she's nervous, admitting that he is as well since it's his first time sharing an umbrella with someone. She agrees that being close to someone makes her feel nervous, but Daiki finishes her thought, saying that being this close makes her heart flutter. That is the final straw. Her mind goes blank, and when the rain stops, she dashes off towards her home. Later that night, Shimizu can't stop thinking about Hondo Daiki. All of his words keep storming through her mind. The way he tells her that he likes her company, the way she listens to him, how he thinks she is beautiful, and how much he enjoys being with her. She feels so embarrassed and shy just thinking about him, almost ending up hating him for making her blush so much alone in her own bed. Now she regrets having such a good day with him and wishes she could have been closer. But in the end, she runs away from him and feels as though she's lost her only chance. Now she doesn't know how she'll be able to face him the next day at school. The following day, in an empty classroom, Daiki finds himself lost in thoughts about yesterday. The day has been so eventful that he's still deep in his memories, to the point that Shunya has to shake him out of his thoughts just to get his attention. When Shunya wonders what's on his mind, Daiki tells him he's thinking about everything that happened, explaining that he met up with Shimizu at the mall the previous day. Shunya is so shocked to hear about Shimizu that his mind is nearly blown away at the idea that Daiki is on a date with her, along with her sister. Daiki wonders how Shunya knows about Ai, Shimizu's older sister. Shunya, in turn, is surprised Daiki doesn't know Ai is the vice president of the student council, and also very cute. He explains that both sisters are very famous for their looks. When Daiki is asked, he simply says he went shopping with Shimizu and her sister. Then, slipping back into his thoughts about the previous day, Daiki again zones out as he remembers Shimizu and how his heart fluttered under the lover's umbrella. Shunya wakes him up again when, suddenly, Ai appears in the classroom looking nervous, asking about Shimizu, saying she's looking for her but can't find her. Daiki replies that he hasn't seen her after lunch. Ai then mentions she's heard a rumor that someone is making a move on Shimizu, explaining that ever since she dyed her hair black, a lot of boys have started to avert their eyes, and now there's this rumor circulating. At that moment, one of the two girls in the classroom mentions she's also seen Shimizu walking with a guy. Hearing this, Daiki can't control himself and immediately starts running out of the classroom to look for Shimizu, ignoring Ai's calls behind him. Meanwhile, Shimizu is with a handsome guy at the back of the school, where no one is around to disturb them. Suddenly, the boy asks her to go out with him. This upsets her because she has wanted to spend her time with Daiki, and now this guy is confessing his feelings, thinking she dyed her hair for this reason. When she wonders why he wants to go out with her, he simply replies that ever since she dyed her hair black, she looks cuter and more beautiful. This makes her drift in her thoughts, wondering if Daiki also likes her black hair. Shimizu refuses, saying she doesn't even know his name, and she doesn't know him at all. If he's confessing just because she looks cute, then there are plenty of cute girls at school and he should look for someone else. The boy thinks she's angry and tries to calm her down, but she insists she's calm and explains that relationships should have a certain sequence. First, spend time together, then start liking each other, and only then confess feelings, not the other way around. The boy insists she's naive for refusing someone as handsome as him, but he still wonders if he can change her mind. Shimizu becomes annoyed and tells him she'll never change her mind about him, and when he asks if they can at least be friends, she simply turns around, saying she isn't interested in anyone with ulterior motives. The guy remains calm, seeming mature despite her rejection. However, when she turns to leave, he suddenly becomes angry, feeling that after putting so much effort into confessing, she is treating him poorly. He steps forward, grabbing her hand tightly, and Shimizu thinks how this same thing had happened during middle school. She realizes that this will keep happening every time she has black hair. Suddenly, Daiki appears, looking like he's just run a marathon to get to her. Shimizu is so nervous and shocked to see him there. Of all people, coming to her aid again in the same kind of situation. Daiki is momentarily taken aback by her beauty, then asks for a moment alone with Shimizu after spotting her with the handsome guy. She comes closer to Daiki, but the other boy, still irritated, says they are in the middle of something and that Daiki is ruining it. Shimizu clarifies she doesn't want to talk to the other guy as she isn't interested, and the conversation is over. The boy, now angry at being rejected, says her face isn't that good and criticizes her attitude. Daiki gets angry, insisting none of what the boy says about Shimizu is true. She gives him lunch, always listens when he needs to talk, and there are so many good things about her they can't possibly be counted. The boy then wants to know why Shimizu is so important to Daiki and what their relationship is. Daiki answers with all his feelings that she is someone very special to him. Hearing these words nearly causes Shimizu to faint from the shyness and embarrassment, but Daiki keeps talking, saying her clumsiness makes her even cuter, and the way she plays games is wonderful. He continues listing her qualities, while Shimizu listens to every word, her heart fluttering so much it feels as though it could stop at any moment. Listening to the two of them talk as if no one else exists, the other boy finally leaves, leaving Daiki and Shimizu alone together. After he leaves, they walk along the corridor, both feeling a little embarrassed about the encounter. Daiki is embarrassed by how he keeps talking without thinking, while Shimizu, still overwhelmed, keeps replaying his words in her mind. She points out he shouldn't jump into every situation because it could one day end up having consequences. Daiki pauses, feeling as if he's heard that before. Then, after a moment of realization, wonders if they have met in middle school. Shimizu looks at him and says he's slow to notice, stopping him in his tracks. Daiki wishes she'd told him sooner that they already knew each other, but admits he didn't recognize her with blonde hair. He wonders why she dyed her hair black again. Shimizu is so embarrassed by the question, but finally says she couldn't tell him before, and now that she has the chance, she simply thanks him and runs away in embarrassment. Daiki is left unsure why his heart is fluttering so much, but he realizes he likes everything about Shimizu. Later that night, Shimizu finds herself talking to her plush teddy bear as if he is Daiki. She can't stop replaying the words he said earlier, especially how he told her that she is someone special to him. She wonders what he truly means by that, her mind swirling with curiosity, when suddenly Ai enters the room, teasing by pretending not to have heard anything she says. However, seeing her sister's embarrassed face, Ai tries to cheer her up, insisting that Daiki actually wants to be with her. Shimizu, unsure, mutters that Daiki is probably like that with everyone, but Ai assures her otherwise and jokes that she will go and push him herself. When Shimizu tries to stop her, Ai teases with a mischievous expression, asking if she wants Daiki to go after every girl then. Ai then mentions she'll seek help from her friend Yusuke, though she doesn't reveal her plan. The next day in class, Shunya wonders why Daiki ran off the previous day and managed to come back unharmed. Daiki apologizes for rushing out, but explains he had to help Shimizu. He tells Shunya that when Shimizu thanked him for helping her, his heart fluttered, as if it was the most beautiful moment, and that she looked especially cute at that time. He admits he thinks other girls are cute too, but it feels different with Shimizu. Daiki then asks for advice, but Shunya refuses, saying this is something he needs to discover on his own. Shunya shifts to his usual lighthearted talk about love, saying he wants to do fun activities with someone he likes. Daiki suggests he ask their soccer team manager, and Shunya replies he'd be thrilled if his junior, Sito, becomes their manager. The conversation is still going when Ai suddenly bursts through the door and asks Daiki to come with her, just as Shimizu returns from the restroom. Daiki wants to finish talking with Shunya, but Shunya quickly escapes to the library. Ai then takes both Daiki and Shimizu to see her friend Yusuke, who checks if they have given their consent. Ai assures him they have, even though neither knows what they're consenting to. Yusuke introduces himself as the student council president and mentions he has known the sisters since childhood. Daiki introduces himself as well, but notices Yusuke speaking quite freely with Shimizu, which makes Daiki think the two already know each other. Meanwhile, Shimizu realizes they're in her sister's club room, the astronomy enthusiast club room, and that Yusuke is trying to recruit both of them as new members. When she questions the reason, Yusuke explains that the club only has 3 members, but since he and I will be graduating, the club will be disbanded unless they recruit more. AI, wanting to have one last astronomical viewing on the rooftop, needs Daiki and Shimizu to join. Still, there is the issue of getting permission, since neither as individuals nor as a club can they get it. Shimizu tells him to give up, but Yusuke counters that with 5 members, they can get the necessary approval to use the rooftop. Daiki, thinking about his responsibilities at home, says he can't stay too long on weekdays. However, when Yusuke promises he can come and go as he pleases, Daiki is pleased and agrees to join. AI explains that the club is mainly for relaxation, which dampens Daiki's enthusiasm, as he had hoped for more than just conversation. Shimizu stands up to leave, saying she doesn't want to join, but her sister pulls her aside and insists it is a great opportunity. She confesses she wants to join, but feels too embarrassed to face Daiki after he calls her special. Ai reminds her that stargazing together on the rooftop is the essence of romance. And if she doesn't join, Daiki might end up chatting with a second-year girl instead. Shimizu is so flustered she nearly faints, but Ai's persuasion convinces her to join. Daiki, wanting to reassure her, tells her she can join any other club if she prefers, but secretly he hopes she will choose the same club. When Shimizu finally announces her decision to join, Daiki feels satisfied while Ai looks relieved, and mentions another cute girl wants to join as well. When that new member arrives, it turns out to be none other than their adorable junior, Seido Mio.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.